What is up, everybody? It is Alex from Heavy New York calling from Zoom again, and this time we are here with Niklas of the almighty Orbit Culture. Great to be able to talk with you, man. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Anytime, man. Anytime. I can't think of a band that was more busy during the last 2 years during the pandemic era than you guys with releasing the Ninja full-length album or the Ninja full-length album and then releasing the Shaman EP, and now you just released the new single Vultures of North. Is this like a good representation of what the follow-up to Ninja will sound like in a way, or is this kind of like its own little thing in the Orbit Culture camp?
This is pretty much both worlds there, I think. Because the latest video that we put out was for a song we called Strangler from our EP Shaman, and it was kind of like too bright and like almost a rock song. So we just want to break that with break the contrast a bit with this dark shit instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just, especially when, because we released it just before the US tour with In Flames, and we just want to, like, gear up and have a, like, fist to the face song
Definitely.
going into the US.
Well, with taking that more dark direction, because without a doubt, I mean, Vultures of North is, I think, one of the darkest songs in the Orbit Culture catalog. When you look at the first three full-length albums that you put out, was this like a preconceived vision? Was this a direction that you always wanted to take with Orbit Culture, or did it kind of just happen that way?
It just kind of happened. We, it all comes back to the Shaman EP, basically. We felt that we wrote songs that we wanted to like be able to pull off live pretty well, but at the same time, I like the studios so much, so when I'm in there, I just want to create the biggest and darkest thing possible, and that's where I'm at now.
Does the songwriting process ever start off with a preconceived idea? Because when you like compare Imidia's Ray to the Raisin album to Ninja, it almost seems like every album kind of has like its own thing that makes it stand out. Do you start the songwriting off with the preconceived vision, or is the songwriting process very experimental and there's a lot of improv involved?
I think I wanted to say that it's like planned out, but it never truly is. It's I think that's like the key. It's just a snapshot of where we were at the time.
Mm-hmm. And
both in the head and like musically. Yeah.
Does your source of inspiration come from an internal source, like an emotion, as you would say, or is there like a lot of observation and a lot of external sources of inspiration for Orbit Culture?
A lot of like external input for sure. I tend to I don't listen to much metal anymore, because like when you do metal yourself, it's kind of you want to go away a bit. But if I hear a cool riff here and there, I will like I want that, and just try to match it together and create something like orbitish over it.
Yeah. Well, I think that goes to show with your tours too. Like I know rock fans who are appreciating Orbit Culture, and I know metal fans who are appreciating culture. And the tour that you did with, In Flames, Fit for an Autopsy, Invented, and I saw you guys in New York City on my birthday, I might add.
Oh, cool.
Yep,
Cool.
which was a great birthday present. But it almost seems like Orbit Culture's music could really appeal to multiple audiences, right?
I hope so, but it's not like that we try to write specifically that it's gonna work for different genres. It comes from like digging other music basically and trying to replicate shit that others have done, and in the end it turns out to be something completely different, but people seem to enjoy it, so it's all good.
Maybe I'm just being a total overthinker right now, but is that what maybe the meaning of Orbit Culture is? All these different ideas are orbiting around you and it creates a cultural experience, or am I just totally overthinking it right now?
No, but you're probably right, because like it's how I've experienced music since I was a kid. I like good songs. I don't like genres. That's my mind works. I like a good song whether it's Avicii or fucking like Whitechapel.
Absolutely. I think that should be a t-shirt saying, we don't like genres, we like good songs.
Yeah.
Yep. Has there ever been a time though where lyrically, maybe a lyrical idea or a lyrical concept could help dictate a song in orbit culture, or do you feel like you always need music before you put pen to paper on lyrics?
I've tried both ways of doing it, but I always find like 90% of the time when you're sitting behind the computer trying to write the stuff, the instrumental stuff, and then you have like 2 weeks before you have to like record vocals and turn it in at the same time. So that's pretty like you have to write about something that honest, obviously. But I think how I work is that I like re-record English, but it's not English. It just sounds like English in that sense. And then I hear the lyrics more and more when words start to pop out from the syllables and stuff.
Yeah, because nothing could be more heartbreaking, right, than having the best lyrics ever, and then they're always like one syllable over the arrangement of every song.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nightmare.
I could imagine it is, and then you have to chop it down in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah. In order to get that inspiration, though, do you almost kind of like need to put yourself in a specific place in order to cultivate either riff ideas or lyrical ideas, or does inspiration just strike out of the blue for you?
It's pretty dark, but the biggest inspirations come from like a good night out when the hangover comes all over you. Because my serotonin levels, like they dive to the bottom, and that's unfortunately that's where the good lyrics come from most of the time. But yeah,
that's not unfortunate at all. When art is at its best, when we are at our worst.
Yeah. Exactly. I don't like to recommend anyone doing that, obviously, but for me, because I don't write the lyrics when I'm hungover, but these dark shit starts to pop up, and then like the day after, that's how I felt yesterday. So
well,
just write it.
Famous painter Francis Bacon always painted when he was hungover, and I think that's actually a unique method too. But like, you know, when you are hungover or even drunk for that matter, you are in an altered state of mind, regardless of how true it is. So, you know, when you are writing these lyrics, you know, in the more hungover state, but then you have to be more coherent when you're playing it live or tracking it in the studio. Does that at all is that at all kind of like difficult in a way? Do you kind of have to like feel the same way when you're recording something as you do when you write it?
I think how we like make songs, it's very sometimes a little bit too sterile, because we're building these machine songs, right? So I think you just have to like sing your throat off basically to like get that feeling out, that because in the end I write about dark shit, and dark shit is very close to screaming in that sense. So yeah, it's like a pair.
But
so you don't have to feel like shit.
But when you have to, when you are writing about this dark element, obviously creating music and art is very cathartic. It helps you overcome difficult times. But does that also make the songwriting process a little deteriorating as well?
Yeah, the songwriting is just fun the first week. The whole year after sucks.
Wow.
So yeah.
When you play the material live, do you kind of go back into that altered state of mind as when you first wrote it?
Yeah, I think, you know, when you stick to a riff, like this is the riff, this is the song. Obviously, you do it because of in the beginning you got goosebumps. Basically, that's like the bar you have to come across. And you know, as I said, when you work on it for so long, you know, that feeling kind of fades. But I felt when we played this, I have to start there. We have never played this much as we've done this year, ever. And but you know, on certain parts in certain songs, you get goosebumps again because the energy from the crowd is there, the riff is there, you know, it's just an atmosphere of good times, and that makes, you know, it makes me, you know, get goosebumps again.
But and when you are like you kind of led me perfectly into the next question, because you know sometimes you are working on a song for days or weeks, or you know if you're a band like Tool, 13 years. Do you feel like the longer you work on something, the harder it is to sort of like maintain that emotional spark that started the idea?
I think so, because you get used to hearing a song pretty much, and then what I tend to do, and I believe many other like artists and producers do, that you just add stuff just to like spice it up again. But in the end, you know, when it's time for the like final export, you like, I don't need that. Just remove everything again, and you're basically left with what you started with, like the spine of the song.
That, that's got to be the worst though, when like you write something and then you're like, okay, it's not very good enough, and then you know kill yourself for weeks on end making a specific song, and then you're like, and then you finally get it done and it just sounds the way it was originally written. That's got to be the worst, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, I have my libraries of like cellos and shit like that. That's a good tool to help me get like to the next part of the song. But most of the times it just fucks it up basically. So I have to like you know, write a better riff instead of like relying on all the other shit that we don't need that often.
Writing about dark aspects of life, as well as um, writing about dark aspects of life, and you mentioned that it comes from externally as well. But does your personal trials and tribulations also influence the sound or the lyrics as well, or do you try to use music as a pure escapism?
Use like instrumentally, it's what I, yeah. Let's say you write something that you have to feel something like a fucking banger riff or something, but lyric wise, it's just, yeah, I have no good answer for it. It's just I try to write what I feel,
Hmm.
and whether it's a good feeling or bad feeling, I oftentimes scrap the good ones because it doesn't fit with the music. But yeah,
Or you never know though. Maybe you should just make the good things like your most radio friendly songs, and then
yeah. But
but
I don't know if we're quite there.
yet, who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, listen, I've been to Sweden. I was just in Sweden for the first time this summer. They're playing Children of Bodom on fucking daytime radio in convenience stores there.
Yeah.
So it can happen.
It can happen, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
We will see.
Now, I feel like there's a lot to celebrate with Orbit Culture, especially next year, because next year is going to be the 10-year anniversary that a lot of people first heard Orbit Culture with the Odyssey EP that you released in 2013.
Holy shit.
Yeah, 10 years. Sorry to.
I'm, oh my god, I've never thought about it.
Well, now you just
Holy
answered the
shit,
question, because
okay.
I was going to ask if
Yeah.
there's any plans to celebrate that anniversary.
Dude, holy shit, you dropped the ball on me there.
My
Oh
bad.
my god. No, but I guess we have there are some talks that we sometimes we have to like print out the Odyssey and the Admiras Rest stuff on like on the vinyl. We haven't done that yet, so we will have to look into something like some anniversary thing going on there with the earlier stuff that we did.
Mhm. Um, Kind of going back to the Odyssey EP though, how has the song? Can you take me back to like some memories, like what the thought process was with the making of that EP, and how the songwriting has kind of like evolved since then, with you know 3 full-length albums later?
Dude, we were 20, maybe 19, 20 years old. We barely had a rehearsal space. We our like everything from the guitars to the computer that we recorded that thing on was like horrendous. So in that sense, things has started to get better because I believe that some good gear will help you like stay motivated in some way. Like have a good hockey stick when you're younger or something. It's a bit more fun to continue playing hockey. But yeah, dude, we were just trying to like trial and error. We'll like, but that's the funny thing when you're that age, you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, we're good at this, and then like, nah. But that's the beautiful thing about it. You evolve because yeah, you get better at it basically. So it goes a bit faster to write songs now, but yeah, that's why you have built up like a luggage of experience in that sense.
Definitely, definitely. Well, with the Odyssey EP, I feel like it has, and a lot of bands have this. I think more bands have it than not. What I call the debut charm or the debut innocence in a way. It does sound very raw and very organic in a way. And I thought like I even saw some black metal influences in there as well.
Yeah, we just recorded what we felt was like this is the shit.
Yeah.
And I think in that era, many bands, including us, used Guitar Pro to write their songs, and that was difficult to like keep up with and play that shit because yeah, it was such a weird time because everyone was like, you write shit in Guitar Pro like a MIDI program, and then you have to record it, and then you just chop it up, and it's an interesting time.
Yeah, well, at least you guys, at least you as musicians had Guitar Pro, unlike musicians here who had Guitar Hero. That's how they got their gateway into it. So I think Guitar Pro is better than Guitar Hero.
That's brilliant, man.
Yeah, even though it did expose a lot of bands. When it comes to being in a band, with three other individuals, is it better for songwriting if everybody in the band is kind of like in the same headspace and has the same ideas and is on the same page? Or do you think that everybody in the band, being that you're all individuals, that maybe having different ideas or being in your own little worlds can maybe help with the songwriting in a way and bring new ideas?
No, I would love, for the band to be that someday. Obviously, they give their ideas like I like that part, I don't like that part, but that's enough for me, right? Like if it doesn't like resonate with the rest of the guys, why should we even do it? But like the writing process has always been my, as you said, some sort of like escape from reality, and that's all I know basically. The others like enjoy The Last of Us, games and shit. But I try to play games, but I always end up thinking about that fucking snare drum. Yeah.
Well, hey, The Last of Us, I never played the game, but I've watched like YouTube playthroughs of it because it is a great story as well. I mean, if you can make a concept album on The Last of Us, mark my words, you will be headlining arenas here in the city if you make that happen.
That's good.
That's like the product placement that's needed in heavy metal right now.
Yeah, that's perfect because both Frederick and Richard are like devouring those games. So I guess I will need their help after all.
Well, being that the sequel kind of sucked, is that why there's a lot of anger? The new music is very angry. They're channeling their anger from that in there.
I have no clue, man.
Just speculating. I think that should be in the bio. We hated The Last of Us 2. That's why we took the heavier direction.
Yeah. Yeah, that should be like the marketing for it.
Yep. This goes out to Naughty Dog for your fucking shit game.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
When it comes to your live presence, I've seen Orbit Culture on 2 occasions now. Both were excellent times. Is there a similar energy? You said that you love the studio. Is there a similar energy that you put into your live presence as you do when you're songwriting, or do you consider songwriting and playing live 2 completely separate arts altogether?
Dude, that's a great question because I have had very much difficult. Like, I feel like the live mode is so different from the studio mode. And especially now when we're trying to finish up a record between 2 big tours, it's very, very confusing for the mind to like jump from like the rehearsal space to the studio to, playing a show. So I have to be honest, I'm quite struggling with that because I've never experienced it before. But yeah, that's the only good answer that I can give you. But it's so different. Yeah.
Well, I could just see like when you play live, there's so much energy. It really seems like you're in an altered state when you play live, which I think is awesome. Um, but like the studio is like a very confined and static environment. You can't be doing a crowd killing circle pit in there with all that expensive equipment. Do you almost feel like the studio is a little bit more confined in a way and like playing live is more liberating?
You absolutely marked the words there. In the studio, I can like bitch for 2 hours about like a slightly detuned string. Compare that to like ripping out like a 40 minute set. You don't care about shit like that. You just fucking go. And yeah.
But I've also seen you now in the two times I've seen you in a variety and at different types of venues too. I saw you at Webster Hall, very traditional, awesome metal show. And then I see you at Aftershock Festival where, it's like 100 times the size of that, much bigger stage, different types of crowd because the lineup is so diverse. Has that also been a different experience as well?
Yeah, I love festivals, but I also love the smaller clubs. I'm not saying Webster Hall is small; it was fucking amazing there. But yeah, being on a big stage like that at Aftershock and both louder than life and shit, and you see, as I said, every person you can imagine, and that's on a sunny day, it's a dopamine rush for sure, but it's a different dopamine rush. We're fucking here in New York City playing Webster Hall. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, 100%. Do you almost feel like the art of stage presence and crowd interaction almost has to change though, depending as well?
Yeah, absolutely. On the like club shows or you're like it's easier to like being almost like a one-on-one with a person in the at the fence, but on these festivals it's just like basically a sea of people, so it's feels like iRobot. It's just a lot of mannequins dancing.
Just from listening to your music for years now and finally talking with you, I never would have thought I would be talking about iRobot or The Last of Us or like any of that. Like, kudos to you. You guys stand out between like the 20 million Swedish bands I've interviewed, I must say.
That's great.
Yeah. And here comes, I saved the most difficult question for last. Are you ready?
Yes. Okay.
For songwriting. How do you know when a song is done?
Never. I think it's when it's when it's showable to people. Like, okay, you can listen to it now.
Okay.
But that's about it. You always aim for like this is gonna be the fucking best song ever, and then like when you're exporting it for the last time, like it's pretty alright. At least I can show it to people now. So that's when the song is done in our camp.
Okay, fair enough. That was an honest answer, and hey, that could be a really good answer. The song is done when people outside of the band are listening to it. So
yeah, I think so.
Definitely. So before we go, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It's so great to have Orbit Culture on the show. We've had plenty of requests for you guys, and it's great to finally make this happen. Is there just anything else with Orbit Culture that you would like to promote with the release of the new single and this EP coming out? Like, when could we be expecting a new Orbit Culture full-length album, if you're allowed to say, of course, and anything? I know that you're hitting the road with At the Gates very soon, right?
Yeah, both. And first of all, thank you for having me once again. We will head out with the In Flames headlining now in Europe. The direct support will obviously be At the Gates, which is fucking insane. But we have a second single coming out. I can't really say when, but the new album Descent you will probably hear somewhere between January or March. It's not quite decided yet. It might even get postponed a bit more, but it's all yeah, it's happening something in the Orbit Culture Camp for sure.
Well, it'll definitely be worth the wait, and I look forward to it. And I'll just say it again, just to be that guy. But happy early birthday to 10 years of the Odyssey EP.
Thank you, man. I have to call the guys now and say that.
Yeah, right.
I feel old.
Exactly. I'm notorious for doing that, by the way. I think there's some publicists who are like, by the way, this interviewer is going to make you feel old as shit with all of his anniversary questions. Just heads up. So I'm that guy. But thank you so much, everybody.
Perfect, man.
Everybody, we are here with Orbit Culture, Vultures Up North. Check out their latest single. Check out their latest full-length album, Ninja. And be sure to check out the Shaman EP. And hey, again, happy 10 years to the Odyssey. Check out that EP if you haven't heard it already. We will see you next time on Heavy New York, everybody.